Let me share my screen. Let me know once you are able to see my screen. Yeah.
Your screen is yet not visible. I think it's loading now.
How's it now?
Yeah, it's pretty clear now. Yeah, it's
Ah,
there.
sweet. Okay, let me quickly share my presentations. Awesome. Okay. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. All good, right? Okay, great.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, welcome to the India Cloud Security Summit, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today in your busy weekend. And there was great sessions happening in the three different tracks. And you must be busy and having different difficult choice to make, right? And I'm so glad that you joined my session to learn something on the Power Platform CoE Starter Kit. So this is my session code. Please note it and kindly vote accordingly. And without further ado, as I said, today's session is going to be on the Power Platform CoE Starter Kit. So it's a beginner level session. So if you're already using Power Platform, this session is going to be quite useful to understand basics of what is CoE Starter Kit means, and how we can start with that, and further how we can enhance it. After we go through this session, I'll share some materials in the chat to further go into details of the CoE starter kit. So as a quick introduction to myself, I'm Jeeva Rajan Kumar. I'm based out of Singapore. So I'm a Microsoft Business Application MVP and also MCT. So I work as a solution architect in business application space, where predominantly I deal with Dynamics 365 CRM, so-called CRM solutions, and also Power Platform solutions. So this is my blog and my Twitter handle and my LinkedIn handle here. So I'll also share the same in the chat later. So please feel free to reach me out at any point of time after the session, or anything regarding this, or it can be any other regarding Dynamics 365 CRM or Power Platform. I'll be happy to help you. So without further ado, so what is CoE? CoE is in some organizations we have a separate department itself as a CoE, or it can be just a practice, right? It basically refers to a practice or entity that is responsible for the nurturing the growth of the in this context. It's the growth of Power Apps and Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent, and Power BI overall Power Platform, and also model driven apps, and where you involve even the Dynamics components of it, Dynamics 65 components of it. And so the CoE basically drives the innovation, and it constantly push for the improvement, and also it brings the like-minded people together with a similar objective, and to have a shared knowledge and a success for the organization. And also it takes care of like providing the right standard for the whole entity, such a way it sets the good best practices, it sets the right thing to do, what should be done, what should not be, what is encouraged, what is not encouraged. And also it also delivers, it also maintains the consistency and also set the governance on top of what we are doing as part of our business applications, our application development. So before going into the Power Platform CoE toolkit itself, so is there anyone who is new to Power Platform in the session today? Can raise your hand. Okay, one. So we have only, we have 5, 6. Great. So we have a considerable amount of people who are new to Power Platform, right? So it's definitely worth while to explain some details of the Power Platform before jumping into the session. I mean, before directly jumping into the toolkit, right? So what is Power Platform? So Power Platform is Microsoft offering, right, which is available if you have a Dynamics 365 license or Office 365 license as well. So the Power Platform, earlier it's initially, we'll talk about the history. If you talk about the history, it started as a subset of the Dynamics 365, and later it completely became independent of the Dynamics product, and it's spanned across all complete Microsoft Office 365 itself, right? And the main four pillar of the or four key product of the Power Platform is Power Apps and Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, and then Power BI. So I am very much familiar with the Power Apps and Power Automate and with Power Virtual Agent. Power BI is typically it's something which I'm not familiar with itself, because it's kind of itself a very big area to cover. But to give you a little bit of background, so Power Apps is basically is a no code or low code platform, which is basically a rapid application development platform or environment, right? So where you can create an application without deep knowledge or without much knowledge on the coding. So what does that mean? In our organization, if we have a business administrator or who is familiar with the business, who might never done any coding so far, can use this platform to build an application. So using a Excel kind of formula, like what you use in the Excel, you're going to see something very similar to that, which is called Power FX in the Power Apps. So the Power Apps itself, it has its own services, connectors to talk to multiple systems outside of the Microsoft or within the Microsoft, and then it is basically has a scalable data service, and which is called Dataverse. So it was called earlier CDS, now it's called Dataverse. And basically, Power Apps, enables, as I said, it enables the platform to create a web application and mobile application that typically runs on all the devices. So people uses like Power Apps. If you say it might not be, it's not necessary that it has to be always for the customer. It can be within the organization as well. So, for example, if you have a in-house projects, like if you have, let's say, your organization have lots of paper-based or like any application that they are using it, so they're using as a manual process today, can be completely automated by using the Power Apps, for which a little bit of support from the development team, the whole business administration team itself can do it, like HR or a BA or who is familiar with the business can do. So we call those developers as a citizen developers. So citizen developers is a terminology that Microsoft uses frequently when it talks about Microsoft Power Platform. So citizen developers are someone who is not familiar with the coding as not considered as a pro developers, but who has a vast knowledge on the business, can start using this platform and build the apps for themselves with the help or no help or some help from the pro code developers. So the whole, and similarly, the Power Automate is basically kind of, if you're already from Azure background, you must be using Logic Apps, right? So Power Automate is built on top of Logic App Framework, to be honest, and it is very closely bounded to the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 and SharePoint like that. But it's, of course, it's totally open to other platforms, other softwares and platforms and solutions as well. So Power Automate, what it does is, it's kind of, and since it's similar to Logic Apps, it establishes or it gives us the automated workflow framework to build and workflows between the applications and services, right? So today, I think right now until today, probably 520 or 530 plus connectors are been there for Power Automate that can be using the Power Automate. Okay, so this definitely helps lots of development again. So without Logic App, what we will be doing in the early days, right? We'll be writing lots of code and host it as services, web APIs, in the web app or in the Azure functions. And after Logic App came, those extensively got reduced, right? And Power Automate is very similar to that. And then the Power Virtual Agent is actually a low-code bot. So today, you can see almost all the applications, whether it can be e-commerce or it can be any application. The customer agent, right? The customer service has been drastically reduced by using the bots, right? So nowadays, if you try to reach out to the customer via chat, the first thing is going to respond to is not the actual people, rather it's going to be a bot in typical scenarios, unless until you have a premium services. So in this case, what happens is, right, the bots get your inputs and then the bots will redirect to the appropriate user if the bot couldn't resolve this issue, right? So as you can guess, internally it uses, of course, your cognitive services and then, other components, but eventually your cognitive services and which requires certain amount of development is totally avoided here, because that's where the low code terminology comes in, and that's where the Power Virtual Agent comes in. So what Power Virtual Agent does is basically it enables anyone, like as we just said, can be anyone from HR department or can be anyone from your somebody like your business analyst, or with somebody can be like your PM, can themselves who has a good knowledge on the business basically can build the bots for themselves, right? So they will have a kind of like a flow chart where they can just author the bot. It's called authoring canvas, and they can author the bot. So it requires very minimized IT effort to deploy and maintain the bot. It's not like where you need to, if you're using a native bot composer or Azure Cognitive Services, for any changes or any additions, we need to train the bot, and we need to write the APIs, and we have to extend current bot, right? So those things can be used. Well, those things can be used as well as an add-on to the Power Virtual Agent. So if there is any services that is not available, we can definitely within the Power Virtual Agent you can call a flow, and then from the flow again you can call your APIs like custom connectors and custom APIs, and that again can be used with via Power Virtual Agent. So combine these three, you can build like such an intelligent application with really less amount of code. So you can have a front-end application created from the Power Apps. It can so there are actually I forgot to tell you, there are two types of Power Apps. One is called model-driven app, another one is called Canvas app, basically, right? So the model-driven app is it drives from the data perspective. So if you have already certain data, established database, which is called Dataverse, from there you have a whole set of your actions, your business process flows, many rule engines built on top of that, and you just build the forms and views as per your business requirement. But the Canvas app is something, it's kind of a pixel perfect application where you start from the scratch and then you start consuming the data by adding connectors from the Canvas app directly to the database connectors or through Power Automate as well, right? So within Power Automate, I said like there are 520 plus connectors today, but you're not limited to that. You can also build custom connectors on top of that, and you can keep extend it, right? So, and that's the beauty of it. So coming to this part, data connectors. So data connectors basically helps us to like connect apps from the different platforms, right? So it's here we are not restricted to any connectors. That's only the Power Automate is offering. So you can just connect to any out of your own APIs, organization APIs. As far as you established and hosted in Azure, you can definitely create a custom connector and configure it. And then that can be called from the Power Apps or Power Automate or Power Virtual Agent, even from Power BI as well. And finally, the AI Builder. So the AI Builder is low-code AI platform, right? So where you can have we have several AI services like business card scanner, or you can have a object scanner, and then object detector, text recognition, form reduction. So the many services, since you guys are from most of you are from Azure, you know pretty much what I'm talking about, right? So behind the scene, you have all these strong services provided by Azure. So what Microsoft have done in terms of our platform is it itself created the whole package so that any end users can basically just consume it and then start using it. So rather than creating from the scratch using those cognitive services. So that's the pretty much long summary of what Power Platform is. But definitely there are lots of good materials and contents that can be referred. Let me share after my session. Is it going to be the same Teams channel for the next sessions, or is it going to be different Teams channel?
It will be different. It will be same team channel but different link meeting. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, no worries. Let me try to share it here. Otherwise, I will share it to the organization.
Yeah. You can please share it all the content related to this particular meeting over here. Okay.
Okay, sweet. All right. Thank you. Yeah, so with that, right, without spending too much time on the Power Platform itself, let's get into the Power Platform CoE Starter Kit, right? So now we saw what is the functionality or the objective of a CoE in an organization, right? And now we also saw what is Power Platform, right? And now to this Power Platform CoE Starter Kit itself is basically is a kit for your CoE team that is to manage your Power Platform, right? So it's simple as that. So you can see the Power Platform Starter Kit comes with a collection of components, and the tools. Basically, that helps you to as an organization. It helps to build from the scratch, right? So if you think from real-time scenario, think about it. You have only a developer team. Within that, how much struggle we are facing, right? So it's not easy to manage the within, if you think about only having a development team, still we have lots of apps, we have lots of environments, and we have whole DevOps cycle, right? Deployments, and you have all code management and all those things, right? Now we are talking about the whole concept of Power Platform is extend or give the freedom of the application creation to the so-called citizen developers who are basically non-IT or non-developers, okay? And giving them the tool to create without any much knowledge on the coding. So now you can think about now how much big problem you have, right? You have to manage lots of applications. You have to manage lots of code, lots of connectors, lots of flows, right? Power Automate or flow. So in this case, it's not quite easy, right? You cannot go and train. Of course, you have to train. It's part of the CoE toolkit program. I mean, starter kit concept, but you cannot extensively train a business user. Yeah.
Yes, tell me.
Sorry. Yeah. So it's not easy to manage the whole applications, by developed by your business users and end users, right, within the organization. So that's where the whole
What time?
it's going to get
Jiva,
tricky.
just a minute. I think guys who are not speaking on this, please mute yourself. Yeah, I think now it is fine. Yes, Jiva, you can continue.
Okay, so that's the whole idea about this, right? So you can now think about the complexity you're dealing with. So if you train how to do people power apps, right, they get excited, and you can think about your HR team itself creating, like, each one of them will be creating like 3 or 4 application to play around with that, and to basically automate their own process. If you talk about submitting a claim to your HR team, somebody from HR team will directly just have some 4 forms and know with just to have the design themselves, and you take a picture in your phone, and it just from the physical form, it takes all the data from the physical form and convert into digital data and show it in a SharePoint or OneDrive, Excel file, anything like that, right? And the whole I mean, someone from HR team can just do it with just 1 day of training of the Power Platform. They can just do themselves within 2 or 3 days. So now what they do, they typically create some apps for them, right? So in this case, like if you talk about enterprise level, I mean, a big organizations where you have lots of team and lots of member, and the whole, of course, the whole objective or the purpose of our platform is to automate the process as much as possible without additional license costs, right? As much as possible. And at the same time, now we have a headache of maintaining those applications and the environments that the people create, right? That's where our CoE starter kit comes in and saves us, right? So the foundation of the kit is basically, again, as I said, it's a data model, which we saw in the previous slide here, right? This one, and then and the workflows, right? So what happens is the CoE toolkit itself is a Power Platform, Power Apps, and Power Automate, and Power BI. Okay, it's built using these 3 to actually get the data about the other Power Apps and other flows and other Power BIs. Okay, so that's where it comes in. So just to give you a little bit of history again, right? So it started with some of the smart people in Microsoft, right? So they saw that it's kind of needs has been there for all the organizations who are, and it's not just from Microsoft, also from the partners, right? Who have been who develop these things for themselves to manage their applications and these things. So they started sharing it to others and become a publicly available and managed by Microsoft now, right? If you go to this link, and it's pretty much sorry. Yeah, you can go to the details of that. It's definitely a good to play with if you already know Power Platform. If you're new to Power Platform, spend some time on understanding the Power Platform, build some apps, play around with that, like whatever apps any crazy apps, right? There's no restriction. It doesn't need to be always a business scenario, right? You can just think about, like, if you have kids at home, right, and you're teaching them, let's say, of an alphabet or mathematics, right? You can just start building apps, for that, and you can just add some funny sounds and animations, and you can play around with that. So you will see the difference when you have 4 or 5 apps, how you're going to maintain it, right? Because we are talking about the application lifecycle management. So it doesn't end with the one environment. So the whatever applications we build for one environment has to be migrated to the SIT and then UAT and then production, right? So that's where the dependency and the components will be a problem. So when you play around with these kind of simple apps and try to have 2 or 3 trial environments and try to port them from one environment to another environment, and you'll see the challenges, right? And you'll see how to manage those things. Excuse me. Yeah, so as I said, the toolkit itself, the starter kit itself uses the Power Platform components to track the other Power Platform components, right? It's something like that. So the kit actually includes not just apps, also a very detailed Power BI analytics. If you ask me, I would say the Power BI analytics is the first point of first place any administrator, the overall organization administrator will land in, and he will see what is happening currently in the organization, and in the overall applications, and he will change the permissions accordingly. Okay. So actually the kit provides lots of templates, okay, for us to do that, and we can just play around with that. And again, the kit itself doesn't represent the entire CoE, right? That's a common question that we get asked all the time. So the kit doesn't represent any CoE, because managing, as I said, managing a CoE requires a tool, and that's where the CoE comes to help. But tool is just alone is not enough. So as I said, CoE will be lots of people, like from IT developers, the developers from IT, and also so-called citizen developers who are non-developers, and also frequent communication between them, and nurturing them. So if you're talking about building a team, a CoE team, it's not about you identify 10 people and you forget, right? You want them to be motivated. You want them to be you conduct hackathons within your organization. You find the best team, you award them, and then you motivate them, and then they themselves will become a champion, and they will train another 10 people. That's how your whole CoE grows, and your overall what do you call research team and development team grows within an organization, right? So that's where we are heading into. So that's where we say it's all about investing and nurturing the organization growth, at the same time maintaining a strict governance and also a control. Okay, so let's see that in shortly. So the 4 main pillars, right? The 4 main pillars of the CoE toolkit starter kit itself is the administration, governance, nurturing, and theming. Okay, so if you see administration, we have core component solutions and the audit log solutions. The core component solutions, as I named it, as it says, it's basically the core components, and that is absolutely necessary. And that's a base that needs to be installed first, right? So that needs to be imported first. in Power Platform language, it's import, not install. So you import it first, and that solution is going to have lots of solution within your Power Apps environment. And then you do some initial configurations, and then after that you will have the base. And top of that, you can import other solutions that comes with the components, like audit log solution, which helps to get the audit logs between whatever the users or the application itself does. So we can just see them from the one-stop portal. Okay. And within the Power BI, the Power Apps can be embedded. So that is something I missed to tell you earlier. So within Power Apps, Power BI can be embedded, and within Power BI, Power Apps can be embedded as well. So it might sound, what do you mean? So The thing is, you have apps like any other application. You definitely want to see your intelligent analytics and dashboard, right, within an application. And that's where putting Power BI inside the Power Apps comes into the picture. And why Power Apps in Power BI is, let's say you have analytics, you have a dashboard, but you want to enter data right there, and you want to reflect that in the dashboard right away, or you want to do some runtime operation with the data what you see right there, and you want to reflect that in the data. That's why you embed apps into the dashboard. Okay, so and that is also provided as part of the starter kit. So now next, the governance. So each of this, right, you see theming solution, nurture solution, governance solution. What are these different solutions? So we will see shortly. So when you download the overall CoE toolkit, starter kit, you get all this into different solution, and you import all the solution one by one to enjoy this feature, right? So today we are focused only on the administration, which is the overview part, but there are the other three pillars, as I just said, a governance and the nurturing and theming. And governance, as name suggests, you basically govern the overall application development and the process itself, right? And also, if there is any connections and there's data being exchanged between them, you need to properly governance them, right? That's why there are certain concepts called DLP, data loss prevention policies, right? So the data loss policies. So we have a different DLPs, and we have to manage them as well, because having a DLP means it's going to impact the application. So we'll show that. We also see that shortly. And then nurturing is, as I said just now, it's you have to grow the team, you have to motivate the team, you have to nurture them, and then the team expands, and you have to guide them, right? That's where like hackathons and trainings motivates them and provokes them, right? So with that, we're gonna focus today on this part of it. Okay, so where do we start with that?
పూర్తయ్యాక దేశ బహిష్కరణ చేసింది. అమెరికా వెళ్లి మంచి ఉద్యోగంలో చేరి బాగా డబ్బు సంపాదించాలని చాలా మంది అనుకుంటారు. ఆ లక్ష్యంతో
Please go on mute.
ఎంతో మంది భారతీయులు
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, so what happens is when you install the CoE toolkit from this URL that I just showed you, right? So let me share this after my session during QA. You can actually, once you download, you're going to see these components, right? So these components, you can see the core components is going to be this, so this one, okay? The core components you can see that can be imported in the Power Platform or Dataverse, and you also have the core components for teams, right? So actually, yeah, I don't want to go into too much details of this. Again, the reason I'm keep coming back to this is we are gonna do the CoE starter kit for this. That's why I keep coming here, okay? And there's one thing I missed to tell you. So there is also a Dataverse environment separately that can be created by using your Office 365 license and with the Dynamics licenses. But also you can, if you have a Teams, you can also create Dataverse or Power Apps within that team. Okay, so what does that mean? So the whole Dataverse and the Power Apps concept or it's scoped within the particular teams you create for your organization, right? So within the teams itself, you can actually create apps, and you can access this from your teams, and you can have Power Apps directly. You can create the Power Apps and edit it from the teams, and you can also create the boards from the teams, and then you publish your team's channel, and then it's lots of fun around that. I'll share the. Well, I need to find the links, to be honest with you, on those things. I'll try to find it today, or I'll share it to the organizers so that they can put it somewhere. So yeah, so these are the core components that we'll be installing, okay, first as a first step. So if I go back to my environment, excuse me, if I go back to the environments, so you're gonna, this is the moment you sign up to the Power Platform, right? You're gonna, if you go to the make.powerapps.com, it's gonna take you over here, okay? And initially you might not have all of this app, okay? Initially, in fact, you will have only this environment, right? A default environment. It might not be as a contour, so but you will have a default environment. So the very first thing that you do is basically you create a new environment, okay, for yourself if you do not have an environment, okay. So how do I spin up, how do I get this? I don't know whether I have access or not. I don't know how do I get this. If you have these questions, when you have your Office 365 license, right, you can always go to your all apps and you can see you'll have access to Power Apps, right? From there you can start if your organization allows, of course. But let's say, to keep it simple, if you want to play around with this, right, you want to start with the Power Apps and all those things. You can try the developer edition in Power Apps, and or you can also if you want to learn Dynamics, it's also you can spin up a trial for the Dynamics, right? But if you want to just try the Power Apps, you can just say it's straightforward, right? So you can see you can sign up for a developer plan right here, right? Free account, and then eventually, if you follow through some of these process, right, you will be able to spin up an environment, okay? And once you spin up the environment, there is a process to basically just to create a new environment. You basically go to the, you will click here, and then you click on this admin center. It's going to take you to admin center, right? And this is where you basically create a new environment, okay? Just follow that process itself, right? So if I click here, create an environment. This is where I was talking about. Okay, and that will be in that way you will have one more environment like this, okay. And eventually you need to add the users, right? So the way you add users is you open the environments and then you go to settings here. You see users, you go to users, and then you can the moment if you already have users in your admin center, like this, you can add them to any of your new environment that you're trying to add, okay. So in that way, you just create add user, and then you add user. After you add user, you also need to define a security roles, right? So security role is kind of authorization, okay? For the authentication, yes, you need to have the license, but security roles is kind of authorization. So that's what defines basically what are the permission you are going to give for that user, okay? I don't want to go into details of it, but if you want to have anybody to basically create an app, you need to have at least Power App Maker, right, license, okay. And then you can have you have Power Platform admin, you have a global admin, and those different concepts. So what are licenses you see? It's all like because I have Dynamics as well, but you don't need to worry about that too much. Let me see if you have users, right? So here, create user and assign license to the users, right? So you can just follow from here. You'll know how do you add the security roles and what do I mean by security roles, and then you can just assign the license to the users, okay. So because if I go into that direction, it's going to take me lots of time. Yeah, so once you have that, now you got your environment here. So all you have to now do is import a solution, okay. So a solution in Power Platform is that's how your applications, your flows, all this thing will be packaged and will be ported to the next environment, okay. So there are two solutions, right, like managed solution and managed solution. So when you want to release it to the final release, like give it to a customer, put into a production or UAT, it's recommended that you use the managed solution. So what is managed solution? By default, when you add any components, right? Let's say in this case, I have like lots of apps, and I have lots of tables, right? Tables are the similar to a SQL table, right? So it's nothing but underlying it's a SQL table, anyways, in Azure. So it's tables, and then you have your very fields inside that, right? So all this, whatever, if you want to, let's say, package some of the solutions, some of the tables, and some of the components or apps or flow, that I will basically create a new solution, and just I can add that, right? So what happens is when I create a new solution, okay, once I add the components, right? Again, it's out of scope of this session, but you can try it, right? So you create a solution, you add a component, you can export that solution, okay? And when you export, right now I don't have this because these are all the solutions I imported by, downloaded from online and imported it. But if there's any solution that I created by myself, I can export it. While exporting it, I can choose whether it's a managed or unmanaged. So if I give a solution as unmanaged, export it, and then you import in your environment, and you can start editing that. Okay, that's why I said unmanaged is to be used within a development environment. But the moment I export it as a managed and I give it to you, you cannot edit as a on the same component. Okay, you can only build something on top of that, but you cannot directly edit that, right? So now what happens is when we download from the CoE toolkit, this one, right? You'll basically get. Okay, let me share that also, right, on the fly, because since it's going to be a new Teams link. Yeah, sure. And you can also just use this as a starting point to whatever I'm saying now. It's a kind of introduction, right? After that, you want to go into detail, please feel free to go into detail of this one. So what happens is once you download that, and that's where you're going to get the list of components like this. And the first thing is you can see, I just told you about the different components, right? The managed solution, unmanaged solution, so that, right? So, and you can see the managed solution is something the Microsoft has given because they don't want me to go and modify them, but rather use them. That's why it's a managed solution. But if it's within, if I am going to be part of their team and it's within development, I will be using unmanaged solution, right? And that's why I had to give a quick introduction on the managed solution and unmanaged solution. Okay, now we have this managed solution. Now what now? So once you download it, right, from this link, and that's going to give you a zip file. And once you extract the zip file, you're going to see all these components right there. Okay. And once you have these components, what you do is you go to your make.powerapps.com, right? You go to make.powerapps.com. Once you have the environment, and you go to the solution, and you import the solution. Okay. If you want to find any solution from online, you can also open app source, and you can see, right, different solutions that I can just, there can be paid or it can be free solution as well. If it's free, you can just get it. If it's paid, you can try a free trial, something like that. But here we are importing a solution, right? So when I import the solution, it will ask me to browse the solution. So if I go and click this, the reason I'm doing this is because in next screen, it's going to show you a bunch of connectors to connect, to be connected. So what happens is, right, when we use the connectors in the flow, I mean in the Power Automate or in the apps itself to pick the data from some other area or solution or application, and also to send the data to some other solution, like maybe application like SharePoint or Azure, whatever it is, right? In those cases, what happens is you basically, okay, I already established a connection, so you're not seeing that screen. But what happens is after this, you'll see a bunch of connection screen. Okay, initially you will not have all the connections, so it will be empty. So what happens is when you import, it will ask you to map if you already have a connection. If you don't have a connection, it will ask you to create a connection. It's a very straightforward process. Okay, and that is also pretty much given in I think this one. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like, right? And then you will basically set up the connection, and then for Azure AD, you just use the Graph API for this one. It's just, and you don't need to create any application and to use this for now. And then once you map the connections after that, so you will pretty much have something like this. So since I already done this, you can see, like all the connections, right? So these are all connections it's needed for this application, sorry, the solution we just imported, right? So let's say now we created the solution, I import the solution, sorry. And then it will ask you to enter the environment variables, so you can skip it. So environment variables are something you create, it's very similar to your its name suggests it's an environment variable, right? It can be used in multiple applications. So the moment you've done that, right, what you're going to have with you is basically this solution. This is what the solution is. If you open the solution, you can see how all the components have been packaged and given to us by Microsoft. See, so there are more lots of content here, right? So it keeps like this many components are put. So if you see the components, you can see like we got Canvas app, we got like fields, and we got flow, and we got connections, we got environment variables, we got some tables. So all these are meant it's a kind of application Microsoft is given to manage the system, right? So there are certain flows and applications that we need to be starting up, right? So when you install the application, when you import the solution, you make sure you start, it will be off. You got to start it, make it to on. Okay, so you can see all these are off, right? So how do I make it on? I can just go do this and turn on, something like that. It's straightforward, right? You just turn on. The moment you do that, right, it's gonna after you turn on, you can open any of that flow. This is basically flow. It's going to be similar like your logic app, right? That's what I said. So you can see, like it has run and it will keep running it. And if you want to modify anything in that to extend it, you can also do that. You can add a step or remove step. You can add a action, and then you can work on that. But yeah, that's not the scope here. So, but you got the point, right? You can keep adding and deleting it right away from here. So once you set up that, right? So basically, if I go to my slide, that's what I said. You have to manage the connections. So you also have to manage the variables, environment variables. So the flows, as I said, you have to turn on the flows, and right now the reason is, and then something to be noted is those flows with the prefix sync, right? It's basically the role of those flows is basically they populate and clean the data in the your CDS entity or dataverse entities. Okay. So this is what I was showing you. You go to the solution, you go to the flow, and you turn on those flows. Okay. And then also we have the audit law, right? That's the second solution I imported. So the purpose of this solution is, it will show the audits from, the connections and the other components as well. So now, so what does this give to me, right? Apart from the flow, it also gives me a bunch of apps. So if you see these apps, right? So you see all these apps you see here that is installed right in today morning, right? So all these apps is given to me the moment I imported that solution. Okay. So if I open, you can see all of them are Canvas app, except this model-driven app, right? So that's why I'm talking about model-driven app and Canvas. If I open this model-driven app, it's going to take me. Okay, I close it up. It's going to take me here. And this is how a model-driven app looks. Okay, this is just a sample of that. So what this model-driven app does is it shows a good point to where we can control the users in the applications. Okay, so you can see I have the makers. I have like 5 makers, and they don't have any number of flows created. But if you think about a real-time solution, right, it's going to look like this. You see, you're going to have lots of makers, and then you'll have different applications that your users are using. Makers are nothing but the people who are creating the application, right? So you need to give them at least the maker permission to create it, and those people are the one who creates it. So you can see from here who are the people who created, how many apps they have created, and what license they have. What apps they can create, and what are the flows they can create, and what are different environments we have. Right now in our scenario, we have only one environment, but you have more environment. Okay. And yeah, you can see, these are different apps that is in my system today. And if I open, let's say one of this app, for example, I can now control my app from here, like, hey, when is the app recently published? When is the app that's been, created? And you can see right now, I don't have it configured, but you can see the connections that it has, right? And then the auditing, I can just, do it's kind of a control panel, right? What is necessary to do control my app. And similarly, if I go to flows, you can also control the flows from here. And okay, so something I missed to let you know when I was talking about the Power Platform, this component, this is Power Apps portals. Okay, so Power Apps portals is something which is used by the external users to interact with the system. Okay, that's why you have the portal also here. And then if I go to environment, you can see different environment, right? So to set up the CoE, it's a huge process. I mean, to show the CoE, it's a real-time huge process. But setting up is quite easy. But if you think about real-time scenario, you have all this already new system, right? All the apps and all the flows and environments is going to be there. You're just going to import the solution, CoE starter kit solution, and you will have this model-driven app, and you start managing them, okay? And if you see any of the Canvas app, right, I can maybe open DLP editor. I don't think I have any DLP right now. Okay, open some other. Yeah, I don't have a DLP right now. So what happens is I'll come to that shortly, right? So this, I just want to show you what the Canvas app look like for people who are new. So you can see, so this app is basically my permission center. Okay, so this is where I can control my permission of apps. So you can see this many apps I have today, right? I can just, you can see the the different apps that has been imported as part of the system. So if I just create, let's say any of this app, right? I can just go on permission, and I can market the people as if I can just select this guy and mark him as a either viewer or editor or owner, right? So it's a one-stop application. So you can see what are the app and owner app and what are the orphaned app, the apps that are not used, like that. So like that, there are different components or the apps that will be added to your environment the moment you import your solution. Okay. So the DLP is something very interesting one, but it itself a whole different topic that can be taken for an hour, right? So basically, in one liner, the DLP is nothing but organizing your connectors. Okay. So if I just deleted it because I had some trouble earlier. So if I just create a DLP, right, quickly, you can see it. You can see today, yeah, 523 connectors we have today. Okay, in the Power Platform, right? So the DLP can be, you can see the name suggests it's a business, or it can be bucketed into different category as a business, as a non-business, or as a blocked. Okay. So if I make a connector something like, like for example, YouTube or something to block, it means nobody can use app in your organization, or sorry, nobody can use a connector to connect to or pull the data from YouTube, send the data to YouTube, from the flow or from app directly, something like that. Okay. So if I move it to block, it's blocked. And what is business? So also I can categorize my connectors between, like this, if the, let's say O365 and let's say SharePoint, if it's a business users, I'll call this business connectors, and then I segregate them as a business connector and non-business connector. Okay. And then in this way, I can provide granular level of governance on the connections that people use. So after this, I can say which environment it applies to, right? So what are environments? This one, right? Right now I have only 2 environments. So here you can say apply to all environment, or you apply to multiple environments. If I put multiple environment, you can see it will next screen is going to prompt me to choose the environment. If I exclude certain environment, I'm marking this only to exclude from certain environment and apply to other environment, something like that, right? These 2 environments right now I have. So the moment I go and save it, it will apply and my apps will respond it. Okay. So if I just, for example, if let's say I do this. In the DLP now, I added which one? This is demo 2 environments, right? So if I see, it's showing now the policy creator, right? So you can see the connectors in business and non-business. I can also use here to move, okay? And also I can just see what is the impact of this this DLP that we put, right? So if there's any impact on the app, it will just show here. So for example, maybe if I try adding any of this flow that's been added by the system today in the app, I'll show you quickly. You can see the impact. So let's say these are all the things that's been added by the starter kit, right? So if I do this, then I can use this tool to basically to show what's the impact that is on my, my apps, something like that. The moment I do it, myself even doesn't have a, well, this is different one. Sorry, this is a admin app. Yeah. So if I come here and if I can see 7 of them here, and then to impact, there should be impact. See, this 8 apps are now impacted by because of this kind of policy that I used. Okay, and you can see these are the different data has been used and non-business data I have used. So if I want to message this user and say, hey, because of latest DLP policy, you are this app. This is the one. This guy is the owner of this app. Let's say he's the one who has created. Let's say some HR management app or something your HR team has created. And if we say that it's not compliance with the DLP we created, that we just say, hey, your this data is part of my business admin. Can just go and change the connections accordingly, something like that, and I can send emails from right away from here. Okay, that's the part of this tool. So each and every app, it's basically have some value, right? Like this, it has its role. Okay, so the moment you use this app, you can go and control, like who is accessing it, who are using it, all those things. You can use this app from here, right? And we just saw this Power App administrator. So we saw that, and we also have app catalog. We open this. Since we're running out of time, I want to show the dashboards also. We're only 6 minutes left. Okay, let me jump into that one. Okay, and that's what you're gonna see, right? So, and the moment these are all like apps, okay, and you also have a dashboard like this. So this dashboard also comes with the CoE toolkit. So that's this one, right? And this is given by Microsoft by default, and so import it in your Power BI, and then you can see, you can monitor everything from here itself, right? So if you have a different Power Apps, you can see these are the apps I have, and these are the users I have, right? I mean, and you can see from the Power Automate how many Power Automates I have, how many flows I have. All right, and something like that. And if you see the environments, you got 2 environments right now. And this is my environment, and this is the default environment, and how many flows it has, how many. This is very basic because I just set it up, so there's not much data, but I'll share the screenshot of how it looks, right? So you can see the overall Power BI dashboard, right? It looks like this. So it will give you the holistic view. I know like what are the different apps that is installed in my created by the user in my environment, and what are the Power Automate and virtual agent, and that's why I had to give the introduction about Power Platform earlier. So though we are going to manage all those things from here, I mean, see it from here and control them from your app. Okay. So you can see dashboard over the Power Apps. So you can see the Power App dashboard. It clearly gives us the what is the number of environments it's been. So in real time, it's going to look like this. Okay, not like one I have been showed in demo. It's going to have lots of environments based on different project by different team from different regions, right? And then you can see how many apps. Like overall, you have like 155 apps in this scenario, right? And then you can see different people who are creating the app, correct? Not just creating app, who has the permission to the app. Okay, you can see this. So not overall 155. In development is 145, but overall you have lots of apps. Okay, and then you can see the number of permission that this user has, and you can see the total environment and total custom connectors and overall app makers and 85 apps overall there. And like how many flow makers are there, how many flows are there? It's 1,247 flows we have, right? Such a massive organization. This is going to be very helpful for someone to manage from here. And you can see different dashboards. This is for Power Automate dashboard, and this is for the chatbot dashboard, Power Virtual Agent dashboard. And also you can see the dashboard for the environment itself, right? And you can see the different environment, the default environment, the developer environment, and the production. So how many apps are running on the production, and how many apps has been deployed on which period of the date, right? And which month has been deployed. And you can see the apps in this environment and the flows in this environment. And also you can see who is the creator of this respective apps and flows, right? And you can also filter it accordingly. And if you see here, this is the dashboard of the apps itself, right? And you can see the different apps. Like it's all of every single of them is apps, right? And you can see the overall apps created over a period of time and against which department has been creating those, right? And you can go and modify, and you can even filter and go into details of this. Okay, and this graph clearly shows you the trend and the top active departments. In this case, you can see, right, the most active department is the marketing department, who has been created 325 apps. In this way, you can see, is this like too much of junk app? Is it like actual app? You get a view and you go investigate and see it, and then you control it, right? And similarly for the flows, and then for the custom connectors, right? So as I told you, the Power Automate is not going to just restrict using only the 523. Also, you can build your custom connectors, and you can also monitor from here. And then as this connections, and this is SharePoint integration. So all this, every single major activity or major category can be modified from these dashboards, right? And you can also assign.
Jiva, we are just left with sorry to interrupt. We are just left with another 2 minutes, so
Okay.
very quickly wrap it.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it. Yeah, this is the last slide. I think we'll wrap it up. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So you can see the number of apps you have, right? And you can decide whether like who are the people who's created it, and whether this app is shared with the entire team, or is it used only with their own department. If let's say someone by mistake shares with the whole organization, then we can tell them, hey, if this is not needed by others, one, you can just go and control it. So all this map monitoring, we can do it from here. And we can also, as part of our nurturing program, we see like who's the actual people, how many apps they have created, and you can see like and then encourage those. You can identify the top champions who are creating lots of apps. You can further train them and motivate them to create their own team, and make your own non-developers and also developers come together and do a fusion development and create amazing apps and to a business and organizations, right? And with that, and that's where my demo ends. And I'm sorry, I have left only a minute for your questions. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll start sharing my. Sorry, I stop sharing my screen, and I'll start finding the good materials for you right away. And please feel free. Please don't forget to leave a feedback. I fill the feedback forms, right, and leave a feedback. That's very helpful for us. And then, yeah, so I know it's too much of info in 1 hour, but yeah, that's the base. In fact, that's the basic that to start with the Power Platform and the CoE starter kit. But yeah, it's definitely there are lots to be covered. Okay, so I suggest two of a good YouTube channel. And definitely Microsoft Learn as it's a good place to start. There's no doubt about it. Apart from that, I'm going to share two of my favorite channels, like three of my favorite channels when it comes to Power Platform. Okay, that one is from the April Dunham, and second is from Shane Yang, and third one is from Reza Darani. Right, these three people have very good content when it comes to Power Apps development. Okay, with that, thank you again. Thank you so much for the whole organizing team, for other speakers and the attendees for making the day and the event successful. Thank you so much for your support.
Thanks, Jiva. Thank you so much. I think